so I spent most of the day with my STBXW. Basically, I am frustrated. What was I thinking? She cried a lot, told me that she loved me and missed me, told me that you don't spend all the years we did together and not still love somebody. She told me how she missed my hugs, missed my lasagna, missed my jokes, missed our banter. She said she cannot talk to anyone like she can talk to me. However, she said she just wanted to remain friends. She wants a friendship. She wants a friendship with no expectations, and she still wants to be divorced from me. She said that she wants us to tell each other if we start dating other people. I said, isn't that an expectation? She paused and said, yeah, I guess it is. I told her that I had moved on. I told her it was not 100% yet, but it was not 0%. I told her I could see the day would come when I would no longer miss her. She said that she had no plans to date anyone, but that if doing so would hurt me and make me relive the pain of her leaving me and everything, that maybe I should follow the advice I got from someone who said to not meet with her. She confessed to things she did wrong in the marriage, which surprised me. She's never confessed to doing anything wrong before. Overall, I just feel that she's trying to have her cake and eat it too. She kept telling me how much you loved me, and I did not return it for a long time, but near the end I did tell her I still loved her too. I think she almost confessed to having sex with someone, but she changed what she was saying and did not confess it. She said she wants to see me again and already set up a second date. I'm just feeling pretty used. We hugged and kissed, and she kept saying that we might have sex if we keep hanging out. When she left me months ago, she hated my guts. She was mean and cruel in everything she said. Today I mentioned it to her and she said she didn't remember that. She was very sweet and wonderful and couldn't say enough good things about me today. I said before, I believe it. She has BPD. I know this. I still stupidly have feelings for her. I am not upset at myself for seeing her today. I believe I can look at this. I put a positive spin on it. I can say to myself that who I suspected she was, she still is. She's not somebody that is going to be able to provide me a monogamous, faithful, and loyal relationship. At best, I might be her good friend, or I might be her fuck buddy, which is what she used to call me and our marriage. The girl is very confused, screwed up, and she even told me earlier in the week, I don't know what I want. And I realized that she could have been fucking some guy this whole time, and that's why she left to start with. And now that relationship has run its course and she realizes what she had with me was solid and she misses it. I can't emphasize enough how much she cried, how warm and friendly she was. Has she kept going on and on about what she misses about me? But at this point I mostly don't care, because she's hurt me pretty bad and I've healed a lot. Of course, the fact that I'm posting here so verbosely tells you that I still am hurting. But for the rest of today and tomorrow and the next day, I've got to take steps to continue to heal. Where to begin? Long but interesting read. My wife asked for a divorce on September 4, 2019. I was in total shock and disbelief. I noticed that she was being distant and not really wanting to talk or do much the month prior. I didn't really think much into it. We were working a bunch and just trying to pay off debts and keep the bills paid. I did little things to remind her I was still here and that I loved her. I'm 30 years old male and she is 26-year-old female. We've been married for a little over 4 months but been together for 8 years. There is a lot of backstory that has led up to this day, so I want to start from the beginning. We first met at Bojangles. She was already working there and I needed a job because the housing market crashed in 2008 and I was laid off from my construction job. When I walked into the door, she told her manager that she was going to marry me one day. I ended up getting the job and she was all over me. Wanted to talk, touch my hand. She even took my phone and texted herself from it to get my number. She would tell me stories about how her home life wasn't really the greatest and how she suffered from anxiety and depression and was really alone in the world. She didn't have anyone to talk to or be friends with. These stories would always take place when I was washing dishes, and some of them were very horrifying. She told me she would be physically and mentally abused at home. Like her dad would slam her face in the plate at dinner if she started crying, or slam her hand indoors as punishment, or even go as far as saying he would shoot her and kill her if she didn't behave. Her mom, who was diabetic, would always say things like, I'll make myself go into a diabetic coma and die and then you'll be sorry. Her parents also told her nothing in the house was hers and she didn't own anything. Not even her own room. She told me that she had a lot of suicidal thoughts and even tried to go through with it one time before. Those are just a few examples of what she dealt with at home. Maybe that was a big red flag one from the beginning. But I took pity on her and felt bad. Red flag 2. After about 6 months of her wearing me down, I finally said yes and we started dating. About 3 months in, we already hit bump in the road. She ended up having a severe case depression and anxiety, where she couldn't leave her house to do anything without having a panic attack or having anxiety attacks. She couldn't show up to work without leaving and was on the verge of being fired. During all of this, I thought about leaving. But I always had this thought in my head. What kind of person would I be if I just left when things got bad for her? Everyone always left her when she needed them most. So I decided to stick it out and take care of her the best I could. I ended up working her hours and mine at work so she could keep her job. I went and seen her every day. I would bring things to help her feel better and fill her in on the work gossip. Each day I tried to help her take that extra step to get out the house and try to getting back to normal. This went on for about 2-3 months. She's finally better, getting to where she can get out of the house and get to work and start living again. I was so proud of her for not letting this defeat her, and now she could move on. She always wanted to show me how grateful she was for me sticking around and helping her. So the next year and a half was amazing. We did everything a new couple could do. Traveled. Went on date nights. Wrote nice letters and just laughed a lot. So we now have been together for about 2 years. She wanted to get out of her parents' house because of all the bad feelings and memories that haunted her there. I was on the verge of moving out with my friends, but she said her brother had a basement apartment he was renting out for $400 per month. We both went and looked at it. We really liked it and we moved in together. We both had excitement about moving out and getting our own place. I had a good bit of money saved up, so I bought $2,000 worth of furniture. We went to the store and picked it out and I let her pick everything out. She hadn't really experienced the thrill of buying things for herself because of all the history at home. We got settled in and everything was good. I got promoted at work and had to start spending a lot more time at work than at home. But I always made time on our days off to make sure she knew she was wanted. We decided to split the bills at the new place. I made well enough to pay for all of it, but I wanted her to learn how to budget money and how to save, because she was always a spender and only thought short term. After about 2 months or so, she seemed so stressed out and out of whack. She would come home crying her eyes out almost every day and wondered if we were meant to be together. She would tell me she didn't love me, and she wanted to move back home and that she was uncertain about us. I always thought this was something from her anxiety about herself not being good enough, and always thought she was a piece of shit and just destroying herself mentally. I always gave her reassurance that she was meant to be happy, and she wasn't all those things that she said she was. She couldn't handle the stress of being alone at home while I was working. Come to find out that the only reason she wanted to move in with me was that she was jealous that I was moving in with my friends, and not her. We decided that it was time for us to move out. We didn't split up or anything. She wanted to move back home and I went and moved in with my friends. She seemed to get back to normal and be herself again. I was feeling pretty good about where we were at. Then red flag 3 happened. One day I don't really remember where I was or what I was doing. I came across a message that she had sent to one of her friend's cousins. She sent him a message saying that she was so fascinated by him. She didn't know how to express her feelings that she was having about him and that she really wanted to get to know him better. She couldn't come up with the words to say what she wanted to say about him. Seeing this, I was instantly upset and mad. I confronted her about, and she said it's nothing and I don't feel that way about him and that I'm the only one for her, and she says she didn't mean anything by it. I told her to put the shoe on the other foot and see it from my POV. She understood and said she was sorry. I was pretty distant for a while and lost some trust, but things slowing started to get back to normal. I forgave her and moved past it. We moved in together again. This time it was at a place in the next town over. She got promoted at her job and she was getting moved to another store. I still worked in the same town. With all the extra driving that we were doing, I said let's go get us some new cars so we would be safer and not spend a lot of money on gas. The cars we had were beaters. They wouldn't have never held up long term. I told her that if she wanted to move to where she would be closer to her work and I would be farther away, I would be okay with that. The drive I had to make was a rough one in the winter. It was at the top of a mountain with curvy roads and it would get slick real fast. I didn't mind it too much because I knew she didn't have to drive it and she would be safe. Everything seemed like it was perfect again. One day she called me and started crying and bawling her eyes out. She said she was getting forced to take a demotion or get fired because one of the managers accused her of sexual assault. I took her side in it all and was putting my own job on the line by sticking up for her and saying she didn't do any of this. I was talking to her managers and district managers fighting for her job, but none of it worked. Instead of taking the demotion, she quit. I was okay with this because it turned out to be bullshit. She was in limbo for a while, feeling like a failure, didn't have job, and wasn't helping out at home, just going through the motions. She would apologize every day about everything and saying she was a puss, worthless, etc. I told her it was okay. that we're fine with money and just take some time to heal and get through it, and that I was there for her. A few weeks went by and she wasn't doing any better. So I needed a way to make her happy and forget about all of it. So I went and got her a kitten. I never seen anybody so happy and filled with joy when she saw that cat's face. I could see that all that was hurting her and bothering her was gone in just a snap. She started doing better. The cat worked. Within a few weeks she landed a job at a bank and everything go back to normal. During all of this, I started to get depressed and sad myself. Work was getting worse for me. The stress of her being stressed was hurting me. We had a lot of managers quit, so my hours went way up. I was on salary, so I didn't get paid any extra. My store manager wouldn't do anything to staff the store, so we always were short-handed. In July, my store manager went on vacation and left the store a wreck. No help, just me there. I ended up getting fed up and just quitting. I had enough. I cried my eyes out about not knowing the future and all of the uncertainty that I faced. Would my girlfriend think I was a failure? Was I just being a bitch and not working it out? Now my girlfriend has to support me while I'm out. All of these thoughts flooded my mind. We had a decent nest egg to get us by for a little while, but that soon ran out. I was so sad and depressed about everything. I was in and out at different jobs. I ended up just laying on the couch for months. I ended up developing shingles at the age of 26 because of all the stress that was piled on me. I would do nothing all day. I soon realized I had to make a decision to either be miserable or get out and fix it, because what I was doing was not healthy. The shingles virus stayed with me for about a month and a half. I was in such pain. Riding in the car was awful. Every little bump made me hurt and scream in pain. I had to walk around like I was sitting in a chair all the time. My buddy ended moving down a state below us and was telling me it was an awesome place to live. Tons of jobs and the growth was unbelievable. I'd listened to a radio stations from where he was living and I always heard all the job ads on the radio and decided to pursue one of these jobs in this area. I made trips almost every weekend to go to the interviews and physical tests. It was about a 2 hours trip, but it was awful. I was trying to get over my shingles still and was in extreme pain while I traveled. I was determined to make this right and set myself and my girlfriend up for future success, so that helped me through it. Fast forward 4 months. We moved to the new state and we both found good jobs and a nice apartment. Everything was getting back to normal yet again. With me leaving my job and her not making enough, we were very far behind on all of our bills. We basically were living way above our means at the previous place. So the only way to get out of it was for me to work. I got a sales job and ended up getting paid commission. So I told myself, I'm going to work a lot of hours to get the stress of all these finances under control, so we don't have to worry about it anymore. I tried to communicate everything I did, so she knew I wasn't ignoring her or leaving her behind. All was good for about half a year, then red flag 4 happened. She ended up getting a new phone. I was going to clean out the old phone to sell it on Facebook or eBay. Having some doubts from the past, I got curious and started going through some messages on her phone. I came across some messages that she and this guy were sending each other like, "Hey, I heard you're going to leave your man." My so said, "Yeah, lol, I am." Here I am again in the same situation again. This time it felt different and the pain was harder to swallow. My mind was wandering about all the conversations that had taken place prior to those text messages. How could she just be so calm and nonchalant about saying that? I called her instantly and confronted her. She told me she was on her way home and it wasn't what it seems. She came home and we started fighting about it. I'd ask her questions about how, why, what have I done to make you want to do this? I work my ass off for us. I cook, I clean, and I give you the emotional support you need. I tell you you're beautiful. I bring you breakfast in bed. I tried to take all the burdens from you and put them on myself. She started crying and said she was dumb for doing it and she was sorry, and begging me not to leave. The whole spill. I ended up leaving for a half a day and I just drove around. She ended up telling me that she was lonely at home and that I was never there. That my job was more important than her. I told her that was never the case. I told you that I was working so much to help us out, not to be away. By this point, if you've made it this far, you wondering why in the fuck are you still there? I sometimes wondered this myself, but I still saw the woman I loved reaching out for help and I wanted to help. Early on in our relationship, I made a promise to her that I wanted her to be truly happy and I was willing to do anything to achieve that goal. Eventually, I forgave her and went back again. From that point on, we really worked on our relationship and everything was awesome. Yet again, we ended getting our finances together and was able to save up a good chunk of change. We wanted to go do something awesome, so we waited till our lease was up, put in notices at work, and took a trip around the whole USA. We drove everywhere from the East Coast and West Coast. It was an amazing trip. I ended up proposing to her at the top of Pikes Peak, in Co. We were engaged. We ended up getting married in April 2019 and it was an amazing day, and I had so much fun. My wife was beautiful. I thought how I got so lucky to marry her. Regardless of all the differences we've been through, it all seemed right. September 4th, 2019. The day she asked for a divorce. I noticed that she was being distant and she really started being on her phone a lot. She recently became fascinated with Korean culture and the language. So she downloaded the apps where you can have someone from Korea teach you Korean in exchange for you teaching them English. I didn't think too much into because she was just learning a new language. But the time spent on these apps talking to other men was going from 20 minutes to 4 minutes 5 hours a day. I believe she was using the time on these apps while I was working at nights to feel like she was wanted by someone to talk to. I was working at nights 4 days a week but would have 3 days off. We just got married and wanted to go on a honeymoon and save up for a house. So I started taking on extra time at work. As I did before and what I learned from the past. I didn't want the same thing to happen because I was away again. I talked to her about me working the extra shifts and how it would help us get to those goals faster. And if she didn't want me to do it, I wouldn't. She told me everything is fine and she understands what needs to be done to achieve those goals. The more time I was away, the more time she would be on these apps. To get rid of her loneliness, she just wanted someone to make sure she felt wanted. So when I got home on the 4th, I confronted her about it and this is what she said. She told me that ever since the beginning of our relationship she was never in love with me. But she loved me. Everything she said to the pastor and at the wedding was all a lie. The vows and all the loving things she said. The smile, the happiness. Everything was fake. She did it all because she thought it would make her fall in love with me. She said some very hurtful things to me. That it wasn't me. That it was all her fault. That she just wanted me to be happy. That it wasn't fair to me that she wasn't fully invested and she wanted me to find someone that is. I said it sounds like to me when you say that. You've found another guy. She denied it up and down and even said I bet it would make it easier for you if I did. She just kept on repeating these sentences over and over again. I called bullshit on all these claims she was saying. I remember all the cards and notes and the moments we shared together and there is just too many to say that it wasn't love. The next few days would unravel all I needed to know. I called one of her friends who is pregnant and she told me some pretty disturbing news. They were having a conversation and my so said, hey, I guess our kids are going to grow up together. Her friend asked, are you pregnant? My so said, I don't know, and her friend asked if it was mine and she said no. So I now knew she had an affair. But she couldn't tell me to my face, herself. That's how I found out. She confessed to it, that it was one of the Korean guys from the app that was visiting the USA. So she drove 12 hours away to meet this guy and have the affair. I asked her, did you not realize what you were doing? Did you not think about me and what damages you're going to cause to this marriage? Though this all she has seemed just so emotionless. Shows no empathy. She tells me she cares about me. She just suppresses her feelings and that she doesn't deserve to cry. I've seen her crack a few times and apologize and start crying, but it's very quick and then she goes back to normal. She says that pos like her do this to good people. She just drags everyone down. She told me she had the affair to force one of us to make a decision about moving on. How fucked up is this? How can someone say all of this is a span of a month to where everything is fine? Then boom, it's not. She's told she's cried about this for years, and that each time she had a breakdown it was about leaving me. I'd ask her every single time, what can I do to help you? Make you feel better? Just give me anything to help. But she wouldn't tell me. How could she tell me that? She says, she told me that she was scared that I would leave and she would be alone and didn't know what to do if I did leave. So while she was out having a good old time, she used me all along for someone they come back to for emotional support. She also told me that it never mattered what I did. Eventually it would always ended up like this. Should I feel guilty for wanting to improve our life? By working. How could someone be so ruthless and not care about someone else's feelings and say all of those horrible things? How could some just lie straight to your face about not loving you when you know otherwise? Am I crazy? I know I'm not perfect and I could have done better in a lot of areas and I'm not free of fault. It takes two to a marriage. I told her I loved her, that she was beautiful. I cooked, cleaned, picked up after her, did laundry, would pick up piles of trash she would leave on the couch and beside the bed. I'd pick up bloody pads and diapers in the bathrooms, clean the cat litter all the time. Every time she wanted something from the kitchen or bedroom, I'd get it. I paid off medical debt for her, let her be herself. Never raised a hand or said mean things to her. Never forced her to be someone she's not. Worked 6 to 70 HRS a week to make sure we had money to do stuff. It was never reciprocated. It was always 80/20. Even sex felt like a chore to her. She would never start sex. I would basically have to beg for it. She would just sit there like a dead fish till it was over. I took on her burdens as my own to try and help her out and to be happy. She always had this unreasonable plateau for me to reach to be her perfect guy. And for everything I did, I always failed. I'm somewhat relieved that it's over. I don't have to worry about all the trash. Medical debts just piling on, her spending habits. All the added stress of trying to make her the center of attention all the time. Feeling guilty about doing things for myself and being told I'm addicted just because I like doing something, rather than spending time with her. I lost myself in it all and sacrificed so much for her happiness. I just wish she could understand this and realize how much she wronged me and hurt me. But I don't believe she ever will. Is it odd to anyone else that she had the affair, treated me like shit, and she's asking me for the divorce?